Hello and welcome back to the Rugby Pod. Big Jim and Goody are with me as usual. We'll be looking back at all the action from the final round of the regular season in the URC and the hectic weekend in the Premiership. And of course, we'll be looking ahead to the Champions Cup final in Marseille. So settle back, enjoy, and make sure you're subscribed on Spotify.
Pod.
Rugby Pod.
Jim, you're back from the dead, mate.
He's alive.
I'm alive.
Jim,
Were you worried on
2.0.
that? Because I did give Andrew my last wishes.
He did.
Well, I don't want him to repeat them. Don't repeat them. But I did say if I didn't make it through, then these were my last words to the masses. So you're not going to get them because I'm obviously here to give you other things, just not my last words. So I'm good. A bit hoarse. I wanted to sound like Bradley Cooper from A Star Is Born. That was what I said to the surgeon. Big shout out to the NHS, and they couldn't promise. They said they'll try. So I sound a little bit hoarse, but Beck's loving it is what I'm saying. She would have been desperate for me to sound like Bradley Cooper from A Star Is Born, but now I'm all right. Made it through. Hell of a night though. Hell of a night in the NHS, my old small beds. And I had Doris in the bed next to me, and I didn't get out of bed until the next day. So I had to wee in these carton containers. They had to get these extra big ones for me because
you're a camel.
Got a big bladder. Because I got a big bladder. Doris, I'm sending the videos to the lads. Doris is coughing like an absolute trooper at 2-3 in the morning. She's up and out of bed downstairs smoking. And I'm thinking, she is hard as nails. I can't get out of bed. And I said to Beck, this woman next to me has had the same op as me. She had a thyroid removed. And she is that keen to get a cigarette like Goody on a night out that she is outside at 3 in the morning and I can't even get out of bed. And Beck just said, that's women for you. Not the fact that they smoke, but the fact that they're just hard as nails.
Let's just get on with it.
They just get on with it, don't they? There's me feeling sorry for myself. Oh God, it was just, it was an experience. I was hallucinating.
What'd you say?
What did I see? I had this initial part where I was about to go under that I was swimming with wild turkeys. And
swimming with wild turkeys?
Well, I was in a pool of water, so I could have been swimming, but if it weren't that deep, then I wouldn't have been swimming. I would have just been wading, wouldn't I? But I was thinking before, because I was looking at some stuff on Matthew McConaughey, who's creative director of Wild Turkey, and I'm thinking, well, the way the mind works is that these kind of subconscious, conscious beings or thoughts are in your brain. So I've gone under thinking that I am basically swimming and wading with wild turkeys. And that was about it. That's all I remember. So, and I woke up.
How good's the countdown though? When they put it in you and they go, not in you, but obviously they give the injection. I mean, you might have had something put in you as well, Jim. I'll ask you about that in a second because you said you woke up a bit sore. But how good is the countdown when he says, "I'll count to 10"?
Yeah, they changed it this time. So they gave me like a pre-opiate. So they give me like a pre-dose. And I said, can I get that as early as possible? And then I had that and I was literally... I was about to get into the water with the wild turkeys at that moment. So it was a great experience that took me onto it weren't another planet because we obviously have wild turkeys on Earth, don't we? But it was taking me into the water in the lagoon and it felt good. It felt bloody good. And then I don't remember him saying, like, once you're in the water, just count to 3 because you're going under. So big shout out anyway to the NHS because they get a bit of shit, don't they? It's taken a couple of years for me to get it sorted. But when it matters, when it really matters, they deliver the cheese sandwiches. When they need to come, they bring that with a cold cup of tea. But big shout out to the NHS because I'm still here and Andrew's not had to read my last rites.
Yeah, I was going to say that cheese sandwich that you posted on social media, was it 7-8 days old? It looks stale as fuck.
I'll put it this way, it weren't soft. I don't want to say how many days old it was. It weren't soft, but it did the job.
So what now? What have they fixed? Like, what changes does that mean for you?
Give him another 3 inches.
Another 3 inches?
Another, where?
To go to 6.
Dean, 16.
6. No, just 6.
Dean,
just 6.
16. Oh, I don't know. I reckon this could be a game changer without giving my health across the airways to the millions of listeners. this is, I don't know whether it's a rugby injury and it stemmed through that in terms of me basically being a 10 out of 10 every week when I should have been a 3 and overexerting myself, or it's a hereditary thing because my mum and my nan both had these kind of thyroid issues, which are generally women related. We spoke about it a few years ago, didn't we? Do you remember when we did a podcast, I was telling people about it? But if I've done what I've done in the last 5 years and I weren't feeling great, can you imagine what the next 5 years are going to look like? My goodness me. I don't know. I mean,
what have you actually done over the last 5 years?
Well, before we get into that, I was going to say, Jim, surely it started with the monster night out after your 2 minutes in the Champions Cup final. You talk about a 10 out of 10 every week. For a couple of minutes here and there, you do, but then it was that horrific night out or amazing night out that ruined you.
Well, that was the straw that broke the wild turkey's back, effectively. That was the tipping point. That was like your body saying, please stop, like, please, I'm begging. And I did. So that was 5 years ago, almost to the day of me going under and walking into that lagoon under general anaesthetic. That was almost 5 years today. 5 years. 4 years and 361 days. That was how long ago it happened, just for reference. So I don't know what the next 5 years is going to look like, but I'm going to feel good doing it no matter what. And Andrew, you know what my last words would have been, and they were bloody powerful, is all I'm saying. But keep them to yourself.
I have to now. Well, now he's alive, I have to. There's one that I really want to say, but I can't. I just can't say it. That's between very good friends. Basically, no, I can't. I can't say that.
No, you can't. Because it was genuine. It was honestly, if I'm going down with these turkeys and they're pulling me under, this is what I want you to say. So we'll hold it because who knows what's going to happen in the future, Andrew. But we'll just leave it there for the listeners. But thank you to the 3 people that reached out to me on social media and wished me well.
Goody, what was your weekend and compared to that?
Well, a lot of interaction with Jim lying in this hospital bed. My favourite picture was just seeing the size of the bed with his legs hanging over the edge and all you could see is the mauler's toe. That was one picture. The coughing incidents, I got a lot of those. I can't believe you had mixed wards as well, Jim.
Why?
Oh, I thought there'd have been a male ward and a female ward. No one wants to see your... I'm going to say, like, if the curtain's open, no one wants to see your giblets hanging out, do they?
I'm going based on Doris there, that it could have ideally been a zoo. That could have been where they kept the cattle. So I'm in that bit. Whatever bit that is, I'm in.
Yeah, there we go. So, I had a lot of that. Friday, I was up at Wasps. The Andy Goose suite was absolutely rammed, but the stadium and the rugby was absolutely shite. We'll get onto that in a bit. And then on, Sunday, I've got to say, the missus and the kids, fair play to them. They did a 5K run for a charity. There's a load of fundraising going on near us for bone cancer and stuff like that. So it was about 28 degrees, or ridiculously hot anyway. The missus and the kids did a 5K run together. Kids were in and out of the pushchair while they were doing it, and I just stood there and watched and applauded people. Obviously, I can't run 5K to save my life anymore, let alone do it for bone cancer. But it was interesting. So Sunday, I basically messaged Jim. Jim's on death's door. He's had an operation. He's sending me all sorts of videos and pictures from his hospital bed. And then on Sunday, I'm watching people raise a load of money for various different cancer charities. The missus putting herself through the mill, doing the 5K run, and I just sat there with a pint and an ice cream. So probably need to have a word myself as well, actually.
Jim's had this thyroid operation that he thinks is going to make all the difference. What if there was an operation that could make a similar difference for you? What do you think that might be?
Well, the ankle actually has helped, but I tell you, Jim's thyroid. So yours was overactive, wasn't it, Jim?
Yeah,
and that was the issue. Mine is
Graves' disease. It's a disease.
Yeah, you had Graves' disease, which meant you haven't had an overactive thyroid. Mine is significantly the opposite to that. Mine is very underactive, which maybe I need mine out because it's so underactive, but it helps me gain weight. But what I don't know, what would I need? I'm happy with my ankle. I went to see the ankle surgeon last
You need
week.
the teeth doing. I can smell the breath through there. I mean,
white they are, Jim. Oh, you're not.
Yeah, they're white. Yeah, but I don't think having white teeth is. I think you can still have halitosis or whatever they're called.
Halitosis. I don't think. Yeah, Jim. I actually went to see the dentist last week, so I got a filling that got redone. But Where was I?
If you could have one, what would you have? If you could have one op, what would you have? Because I've got two more that needs doing. I don't want to give everyone my medical history. I'll give you one. My ear needs doing. I've got a hole in my eardrum as well from bawling and scrumming to the cow sheds and back. So after nearly swimming with wild turkeys, I'm going to delay getting that done for now. I've sent you the pictures, haven't I? The big hole, it's absolutely hanging. And I need something involving skin as well, which I don't want to go into. So there's two ops that I need. Andrew, come on. If there's something, like you've had your cankle done, what do you think is going to need to get done? Do you think you're going to need your knee or your hip done? Because actually, when I look at it, I've got my shoulders are pretty sore and my neck and my back, but my knees, the joints in terms of that I put the weight through, are actually all right, to be fair. Are you worried that you're going to need your knee fused and your hip refused and redone and the metal one? What are you thinking?
You forget, Jim, I've already had what I've done on my ankle, I've had done on my knee 3 years ago. So I had pins and plates.
All right, Jesus.
I've already had it in my left knee. Now I've got it in my right ankle. But I went to the ankle surgeon last week. He's a great bloke. I don't know what to name him or not. Should you name it? Andy Roach? Brilliant guy. Loves his ruggers, loves his golf. We end up chatting more about life and sport and kids and things than we do actual ankles.
I see why. He's keeping your money, isn't he? He wants your other side doing as well. Pay for that.
Well, possibly, yeah. But I had a CAT scan the other week on the ankle, and I've got 13 screws in there. 4 of them have snapped. I'm trying to work out whether it's his bad work or me just being overweight and using the ankle too much. So it's probably my fault, to be fair, because he's a hell of a surgeon.
I think you might have snapped him in Nobu in Dubai. If there's a point of where that happened, I would put my money on it being in Nobu.
Possibly. So probably lipo. I'd love a bit of lipo. Just take away. Can I get rid of 10 kilos pretty comfortably?
I reckon they could.
Would you have lipo? Would you go down the Botox route or not? Because I mean, you've done the hair, and that's absolutely fine because we can't say bald anymore because it's like you're abusing someone. It looks amazing. It looks really real and really good. So would you get the teeth done or not? Would you get the teeth? Would you get Botox? You've had the boobs done. Would you get anything else?
I've had Botox in my knee. That was to get me out of retirement to play for Newcastle. So I put some Botox in my knee for that.
Really?
Yeah.
What does that do?
There's a sheath that runs down the side of your leg on the outside, and that was causing me a load of pain. So they put the Botox in to kind of freeze it. It worked a treat. Basically got me in the Daily Mail, got me a hell of a contract from Newcastle, and helped Newcastle stave off relegation, which you're welcome. London Irish went down. So, that helped. What else? What would I go for?
I've had my nose done.
I've got a mate that had full body lipo. Bloke.
Name it.
I can't name Adrian. I can't name him. I won't tell you his surname though. But he's had. I don't know whether many people know about it, but he had full body lipo, and he's pretty vain.
No,
yes,
he's not. Oh.
Yes, midlife crisis. I think I call him most weeks when I speak to him. A bit of lipo, just trim up
which
a bit.
part? Where? Like, as in, where would you put the rod? I mean, because bod, you're not going to say. Would you put it on Can you put it on the face or not?
I think the face is okay. I don't know.
Yeah. It's good. That's all right.
Just the midriff, James. That's the issue. But I'm just happy in life, mate. What can I say?
I'll tell you who won't be needing any lipo. The boys working out in Richmond this week ahead of the Barbars game next month and the Aussie tour. The boys are training with the England squad. What do you make of Eddie's squad that he's picked, Gertie?
I just want to wish them all good luck to get through 3 days training with Eddie Jones, and hope there's no more injuries, to be honest. What do I make of it? Yeah, I mean, it's a bit mixed, really. You've got some old stages coming back in. Mako Vanapola, Owen Farrell's back in after being injured, and he's back in some sparkling form as well after listening to the podcast last week. You're welcome, Saracens fans. It's always hard, isn't it? There's still 3 rounds of Premiership rugby to go. So there's obviously the last round, then there's the semi-finals and finals, and the squad that he's picked. And you don't want to overanalyze things and look at it in minute detail. It's a training squad where they're going to get absolutely flogged because there's no game this weekend. You know how intense. I've been at an Eddie Jones training session a few years back. It was ridiculous in terms of intensity. So they're going to work hard. You can always make an argument for some players that aren't in it. The big one for me, we talk about him pretty regularly on here as being, in ridiculous form, Danny Kerr. How, again, he's picked Van Portfleet, which is great for the future. He's picked Harry Randall and Mitchell. And the one thing I will say is this squad that he's named will not mirror the squad that goes to Australia for the 3-test tour. There'll be loads of players that come and go in between now and then, obviously, all the Saracens boys and the Leicester boys and potentially the Harlequins boys. Whoever wins those semi-finals, Northampton, they're the 4 kind of clubs that are more than likely going to be in the semi-finals and finals. Gloucester obviously got an outside chance, but he didn't pick any Gloucester players, did he? Although I think Jack Singleton's been called up since. Mate, take it with a pinch of salt at the minute. He's going to flog the guys for 3 or 4 days. You're better off being Joe Launchbury, right? And saying, Eddie, I've got a few knocks and niggles. I'm having a week off. And it takes some cojones to do that as well, doesn't it, Jim, I suppose?
Yeah, but I suppose he's at the age and probably got the respect of Eddie where he can say that. He doesn't seem like a lad who Eddie would ride if you can ride players. I don't know whether that's even a saying now, but yeah, he seems like he's got the respect. But yeah, I can't work it out. We can sit here, can't we, and look through the England squad, and like Goody said, it will probably change next week. Players will come back in from nowhere. Obviously, Mako Vunapola's back in from nowhere. He said he's keen to fight for his place for the World Cup, which is class for him. The other headline ones that for me, Joe Coconasiga, he was always one a few years ago who I thought was going to be, and it's a big statement, the next Lomu. The way that he played, the way that he carried the ball, the size of him compared to everyone else. And he just didn't really come through, did he? For whatever reason, injury, being at Bath, maybe the limelight on him, he didn't deal with that well. So I'd be interested to see how he does. And then on form, George McGuigan at Newcastle, who's been carving up. So I don't know. Who knows what they're going to do? It's going to be a class tour. I think Australia are a good team at the minute as well, but I don't think we could base anything on this. As we know, we've got the business end of the season, haven't we, with the Premiership.
And one big thing on that, if you've seen Scotland's dreams are over, you mentioned trying to get Henry Arundel the other week. Not so much. He's obviously been named in Eddie Jones's squad, so he's pretty much English now, isn't he?
Oh, true.
Well,
yeah.
You say that. You're telling me there's a chance. Speak to Gary Graham. He'll speak to him and tell him what's what.
Jim, you mentioned the business end of the season. Well, at the start of the season, we laughed at you when you mentioned that Exeter would miss out on the playoffs. But now you're right.
And Bristol. Yeah. It's just, and that's with a bad thyroid as well. So you think about if that was functioning, the delivery, I should have put a bet on it. If I wasn't so ill back then, I should have put a bet on all my predictions because they're coming right. Look, Exeter team, and Rob Baxter said it, not just me, and a number of people said it, and you can see it. For whatever reason, it just hasn't happened for them this season, has it? It could be with players being injured, players in form, obviously. And I know I'm stating the obvious, but Hoggy going away with Scotland, then coming back. I mean, I think he's been good. Obviously, for Exeter when he's come back, but he was unbelievable when he first went. Johnny Gray's been injured for large parts of the season. Johnny Hill's been injured. He's leaving. Sam Simmons has been in and out through injury. Joe Simmons hasn't even played. So there's a slight different look to Exeter in terms of them being disjointed. And look, I might be talking complete crap here. They might look at the minutes and be like, no, actually, Jim's talking bollocks. That's just a kind of superficial perspective. But when I called it, it was more because I felt that Leicester were on the way up, which obviously, as we know, that they are. Quins play a brand of rugby in which they can score a load of tries. Sale, the physicality that they've got, I know that they've not made it into the top 4, but their teams now that physically can compete with Exeter and score tries. And the way that Exeter play rugby, in terms of close to the try line, everyone's convert. Look at Gloucester, the driving line out around that part of the place. So I just feel like teams have caught up and other teams have a bit of stardust on them, where Exeter, I mentioned some of the players that have been injured. Jack Knowles been injured for large parts of the season as well. Their stardust, yeah, exactly. Luke Kawansicki is one of the best hookers in the world. So they've just lost a bit of stardust this season for whatever reason, and they'll get it back. I mean, because you even look, if Europe was top 6, which it used to be, they're 7th now, so they wouldn't even made Europe. So it's been a bit of an awakener for them, but not a bad thing. Love Baxter, and Exeter will come good, won't they? But I don't know what their recruitment's looking like, but they need to get their best players on the pitch.
Yeah, they've lost a couple as well, a couple of big names for him. Sam Skinner, he's gone up to Scotland for next season, and Johnny Hill's gone up to Sale as well. So interesting times. But one thing I do need to pick up on, Jim, congratulations. You did say that Exeter and Bristol wouldn't make the top four. I said that Bristol wouldn't make the top four, but I thought Exeter would. Exeter have lost 4 of their last 5 games in the Prem. How bad's that when you think about it for a top team, or that historically has been a top team? But you also said that Worcester would
win something.
Well, he didn't say win something. You said watch out for Worcester in the Prem. They might make top 6. That's what you said.
I meant win the World Cup, which it looks like they won the other night.
The Prem Cup was the World Cup for them, yeah. So yeah, it was. I mean, it's interesting that now we'll get into the crux of Gloucester and what happened to them at the weekend, and the form that they've shown over the last few weeks. But yeah, Saints. Neither of us. You remember a few weeks back when we said, "Oh, who's going to make it?" And both of us got an opportunity to pick a team. I picked Exeter. I just thought somehow experience to pull through. Jim, you said Gloucester. Neither of us even mentioned Saints. And there they are.
Why didn't you?
Because Sam Vesty, the bogey, wants to pick his nose too much. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't mind the picking the nose bit, but the eating bit's kind of put me off putting them in the top 4.
But they've made it. Well, I say they've made it. I'm pretty sure they are going to make it because they're playing Newcastle Falcons on the last game of the season. And they're 2 points clear of Gloucester, who play Saracens.
Yeah, but Dino Swan song. The Newcastle lads have been trying really hard for him the last few games. So you're thinking last game of the season, go on, do it for Dino. That's the call sign going out from Gloucester. Do it for Dino.
Goody, you were at Wasps. Sale needed to win, stay in the hunt. They did, but they are out of the race now anyway, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, the game was, for anyone that watched it on Friday night, you probably wasted a Friday evening watching it on BT Sport. It was pretty horrendous in terms of skill level. Sale were good at what they do. They were physical. They won the kicking battle. They were muscular. They took their opportunities. Yeah, Sale were just effective at what they do. 16 points to 7. When you're looking at that, Jimmy Gopperth missed a kick at the end to try and get a bonus point, which would have kept Wasps in the hunt. Wasps probably look like they're going to miss out on top 8 now.
Goody, what's happened to Wasps this season, mate?
Yeah, God, what's happened?
I was chatting to a few of the lads at the game, and they're either really, I said it for weeks on air, they're either really, really good or they're absolutely shocking. There's no in between. There's no kind of middle of the road, nutting out a victory here or there. It's hard to put your finger on it, really, as to why they've been so inconsistent, but that's what they are as a squad. I'm sure Lee Blackett will be trying to fix things. If they've got 1 game left to try and beat Leicester away from home, which...
Good. Tell me about Wasps then, right? So they lose Gopperth and he's 40 odd, so you can understand why they're letting him go. Malachi Fekitoa is leaving, he's been classed with many. Like, let's be honest, in terms of you don't see many All Blacks come over and consistently play well like he has done when he's fit. Like, what are they doing then in terms of signings and stuff?
There's a South African centre coming in who's a decent player, but you're losing. And I looked at it the other day. They announced a list of 11 players, I think it was, that are leaving on just before the game on Friday, and some big names going. Obviously Gopperth and Fekitoa are the main 2. Gaskell, who's been a stalwart at the club for quite some time. Rob Miller as well. And these are guys that have slipped down the pecking order, I think, in terms of those last 2. They've been great players for the club, but there's some good young players coming through. They're going to put their hopes and everything into players like Sam Spink, who's come on leaps and bounds this year in the centres. And again, it's a money issue. It's the salary cap and everything that goes with it. But they're in the market. They've signed 2 brilliant tight head props in John Ryan and Vincent Koch. So they strengthen that area. But in doing that, you've got to lose out in other areas, and you've got to rely on some of the younger guys that are coming through. So they'll bounce back. But again, this is where they've been. And you think back to Wasps, they had a couple of years when they had the likes of George Smith, they had Curtly Beale, they had Vinny LaRue. Yeah, they had some big name players. They had Elliot Daly as well. The backline was ludicrous. And they went on, and had it not been for one player given a really dumb penalty away in the last play of the game, they'd have won the Premiership final. There's no sustainability built at a club, right? So they've then sort of cut the wage bill and cut their cloth accordingly around what the salary cap is over the last few years, and you generally end up finishing in and around what you spend and how good your players are around that spend. Now, we've spoken on here, Gloucester have probably overachieved this year. It looks like they're going to end up fifth. The top three, Leicester, Saracens and Quins, you look at the squads on paper, head and shoulders above any other squad in the Premiership, really. And then there's a bun fight between the rest. Now, Northampton have got some stars. Their squad depth I don't think is great, especially up front. Wasps are inconsistent. Sale are probably the team this year that have underachieved in terms of squad quality to where they're going to finish. So they finished in the top four last year, didn't they, if you remember? And then this year, that was Alex Anderson had taken over 6 months before the end of the season, something along those lines, January time or something, wasn't it? That Alex Anderson took over, and then they had a good run to the end of the season, end up losing to Exeter in the semi. And you expect them to kick on this year. They haven't kicked on. They've just kind of stagnated a bit, really. So, and they're going through a regeneration now. They're obviously losing Lou Diaga and Faf de Klerk and players like that. So it happens to all squads. But, Wasps need to find consistency, and, some of the big players leaving. Obviously, Jimmy Gopperth has been an absolute legend for the club. I don't hold any grudge at all that they signed him to replace me. What a signing that was, by the way. What a brilliant bit of business by Dai Young. But he's been unbelievable for the club, and he'll be missed. But he's knocking on 40. So, if you're offered a better deal elsewhere and the club make a decision in terms of how much they think you can play and all that stuff, you just have to shake hands and wish everyone all the best as people move on to pastures new.
Well, things were looking pretty good for Gloucester at half time, but it was like Quins went and got their thyroid done for the second half, wasn't it, Jim?
They did. And if I feel that good in my second half of my life, then Jesus Christ, Beck, Daddy's coming home, is all I'm saying. I am bringing the bacon home. I don't even eat bacon. I do. I'm not a vegetarian or anything. Gloucester, what can you say? That is what you call a chance gone begging, without stating the obvious. As simple as that. I don't think anyone outside of that Gloucester camp really believed that Gloucester could have beaten Quins. And you watch that first half, you're thinking, my goodness me, they're going to do it. They looked very good the first half. Harlequins looked off. I don't know why. Emotionally, they looked off. Maybe they thought they could just rock up. Maybe they didn't give Gloucester the respect. Maybe the fact that they know that they could score a load of tries in the second half. But physically, they were off. I thought Gloucester were really good at the breakdown. Defensively, they looked very strong. I think their big players played well in that first half. I thought Adam Hastings played really well. Ben Morgan until he went off. Chris Harris until he went off. Freddie Clark, who I thought was exceptional. He needs a significant pay rise. We're going to make that
My
happen.
God, what a finish. What a player.
He needs to be in that 300-400 grand mark, in my opinion. So I think he's in the 30-40 grand mark. So we need to add a couple of zeros on the end.
Does your mate Ravo do the contract?
No, Alex Brown does, who's my mate as well. So
Brownie.
effectively, Ravo does, yeah. Ravo effectively does. Yeah, Ravo makes Brownie's tea. So if the tea's decent and Alex Brown's happy, then he's more likely to be more generous. So effectively, Ravo does the recruitment, basically.
There you go. Let's get Clarkey a massive pay rise. He's been phenomenal.
He has, yeah, and Carreras has been class as well. So they've had a few really good signings. They've got the best start over Parva Bruskin, who I think was a fantastic signing. Haven't really seen everything. I think he needs to be in the right headspace, but I think he's a quality player as well. Strength and depth they lack. And you look at the second half when they lose Chris Harris. I mean, it looked like he had a hit point. Dr. Jim, PhD, Pisshead Dave. He had a hit point there. It looked like Ben Morgan goes off, and there's a few kind of big errors in that game. Adam Hastings takes the ball into touch as the ball's in the air, line out to Quins. And there was just a couple of big moments that went begging for Gloucester in that second half. Didn't score a point. So it was just a snapshot, really, of where Harlequins can beat any team on their day, is the fact that they can score a load of tries. And like Tabai Matson said after the game, he was like, it's one of them where they are that team that can score and can win games regardless of how far they're down. They'd rather be a team that win comfortably, but they are a team that can do that. But for Gloucester, I'll be honest, I was a little bit disappointed with their big players, and maybe it's because they've not been in that situation before. I thought Lewis Rees-Summit could have done more under the high ball. I know that there's all this talk defensively, but I think his big evolution, he still looks like he's 15. Don't get me wrong, he's a top-class player. Austin Healy's favourite player. He's a wicked player, but I just think you'd want to see more defensively from him.
You talk about Lewis Rees-Zammit. I mean, tell the ankles out when Danny stepped him inside, outside, inside again.
Defensively.
Yeah, exceptional. How's Danny Kerr not in the England squad? Absolutely ridiculous. You know, you're talking about the best 9 by a country mile.
I think you can say close to being the best 9 in the world, I'd say at the minute.
Yeah.
I know it's hard to say because I know internationally we're not seeing him, but he plays at a level every week where he's standout, apart from getting sin binned.
But he's head and shoulders above any other scrum half in England. You know, you talk about Ben Youngs, you talk about Harry Randall, you talk about Mitchell, Van Portfleet. They're the 4 that are in the mix at the minute. Danny Kerr, for the last 18 months, has been head and shoulders above them in Premiership terms. So he's got to. Eddie Jones has just got to wind his neck in and pick him.
Well, Saracens secured their home semi-final, and the 2 points that Saints picked up mean they now know they just need to beat Newcastle at home to make the playoffs and keep Gloucester at bay. What did you guys make of that match?
What do you mean they just need to turn up against Newcastle just to knock it off?
That's my old club. Hey, that's my old club you're talking about.
Well, ain't good enough, mate. Newcastle at the minute for whatever reason.
It's not. All I'm going to say is, Saracens fans, listen to this. You are bloody welcome. You are bloody welcome. Do you know why? Because we picked out Owen Farrell last week as someone that lost their head. It went onto social media. It went viral. And look at his performance. I know Owen Farrell saw it. I think he might have messaged me. I don't know. Maybe he did. Maybe it was in my junk folder or something. But he saw what we highlighted, the way he lost his shit against Toulon and lost his head and with the referee and with his teammates and all this stuff. I'm going to ask you a question in a minute on this, Jim. But at the weekend, Owen Farrell, man of the match, he was phenomenal in everything he did. I will question one thing. There was a high hit on Alex Mitchell, which TMO Andy would have picked out, but they didn't look at it, which was a bit of head-on-head contact again. So I'll mention that. But we'll just leave that there because he was outstanding. The other one I'm going to pick out, though, this week, your mate. Jim,
I'm trying to think of my mates left at Sarries. I don't think after what's happened on here, there is many.
Well, I think this guy would be your mate still, because you talked him up as a potential British. Nick Tompkins loses his shit with everyone. He is the most angry little man you've ever seen. And he was losing his shit with Alex Good. Hell of a player. Like, I love him as a player, but he's got a proper attitude on him, hasn't he? Go on.
I know what's happened. Leadership from Owen Farrell of the highest level. He's like, I'm no longer going to be a C-bomb. I'm going to pass it on to you. So I need you this week to moan like bugger at the referee, to shout at all the players. I ain't doing it because Goody called me out last week on the Rugby pod. So, Nick, this is your sole focus this week, is to shout at the ref. And he did.
And everyone else.
Yeah. I don't know, because it's weird with Nick, because when he was a young lad, and I've always respected him, I always said to you, do you remember I said this lad coming through is quality? I thought he was going to be a British and Irish Lion.
Did he rock up absolutely hungover to fuck on one game
against the Scarlets and got man of the match?
Because he didn't know he was playing. We'll say that because he didn't know he was playing. He'd been out the night before on a big one.
And he carved up, mate, quality player. And I don't know whether it's a bit of an act or whether it's part of this persona that he thinks he needs to be, or, you know, a lot's happened in 5 years since I was there. So he's obviously matured, but there's no doubt, it's undeniable that he's a fantastic player. But where Saracens are letting themselves down is with the. I don't like it. I don't like that chat with the referees. I didn't as a player. You know, I was captain of Gloucester. I don't think I've ever said that.
Have you said that? I've never heard that.
No, I don't think I have. Yeah, but I don't think I have. But as vice captain of Scotland, and I had some ridiculous decisions go against me. I don't like players' interaction like that. I find it even uncomfortable watching it as a fan, but as a pundit. And when you hear the referees, Mikey, the referees having to speak to Owen, or the referees having to speak to Nick, and we can all hear it, I'm cringing. So the big work on for them, because as we know, Goody, when you get to the big games and you get to games where referees don't want to interact with other players, you get some like Barnty in that one who you can have a chat with. You don't need to be the captain. You can kind of have a bit of interaction with. Luke Pearce is the same, but you piss some referees off. They, in the back of their mind, it'll be like, if you haven't rolled away from a tackle, he's going to ping you. As in, if he likes you, though, he might give you half a second longer to roll away. So that's where they need to be careful, because there's a shift, I feel, with Saracens in a bad way around the referee that's getting picked up more. But in terms of their performance, and again, something I tweeted about, I said it, I think, that they're unplayable when they get it right. And you look at that game against Northampton, and the scoreline really, I know it's a high scoreline, and we can maybe talk about the back end of the game, but it could have been 30, 40 points of the week. Yeah, it could have been. Like, they were so much better in that first half. They could have went up 20. They could have went in 25 points up.
The thing is with Saracens, what they did in that first half, they went in at half-time 10-9 down to Saints. Saints had literally emptied the tank in trying to stop Saracens' power game. And there was an interview on the side of the pitch on BT Sport when Matt Ferguson, who's the scrum coach for Saints.
So funny.
They were getting absolutely hosed at scrum time, right? And you could tell the dam was going to bust at any second. Anyone watching the game just knew that Saints had given everything. And then Ali Eakins interviewing him, asking him about the scrum, and are you worried, or was it, what's going on there? He's like, no, not at all, not even bothered, mate, not even bothered whatsoever. There's been one penalty, we're not even bothered. Like, it was, I'm bothered. I'm not bothered. No, definitely not bothered, which clearly meant you were. And then, he was so angry about it, wasn't it? Ali Eakin was, just trying to get a bit of interaction out of him. Nothing came back. And then basically Saracens half-time, they listened to the podcast again, I think, and turned it on.
Should we take a look at the URC then?
Yeah, Dragons nearly. They nearly won.
Mate, they nearly won, but to be fair to them, they've gone the whole season without winning at home. How bad's that? How bad? And they're trying to sell season tickets for next year already. My God.
Let's talk about Ulster, because they got a big home win over the Sharks to secure a home quarter-final against Munster, didn't they?
That's big. That's big. Also a statement of intent, because it being a South African team, full noise. They were full noise. And I say full noise, they had Sia Khaleesi and Pimpy. My voice, I can't do the high one.
Pimpy.
Pimpy. And the Kanyam and a load of their top-level players. So the Sharks were taking it seriously, which we all hoped. And they did, as were Ulster as well. And for me, Ulster have been a standout team. They're the team that have beaten Leinster in the URC this year. And it's all about being at home.
Credit to Ulster, because it was a strong Sharks team. Sharks scored 2 tries in the last 5 minutes to make it look a lot closer than it actually was. So Ulster, great performance. And to be fair to them, you look at it now, they've got Munster at home, which they'd expect to win in the quarterfinal. And then in the semi-final, they avoid Leinster as well. So in the semi-final, they're playing the winners of Edinburgh against the Stormers at home if they win. So Ulster now have got, you'd say, not a nice passage, but a better passage to
a cleaner whistle.
A cleaner whistle, a cleaner helmet to get through to the finals.
Yeah, and Mike Lowry, hopefully he's all right. I saw on social media his cheek again. Dr. Jim, PhD, said, Dave, it looks like a broken cheek, but hey, what do I know? So hopefully it's not, and hopefully I am a pisshead Dave, and I don't know what I'm talking about. So, hotting up nicely though.
Do you think Ulster will read much into Munster's performance over the weekend? Because they lost to effectively a second-string Leinster side, didn't they?
Well, a second-string Leinster team is basically a first team for anyone else. Frightening. Now, it's going to come down to Leinster and someone else, isn't it? That's what it's going to come down to at the end. And can anyone beat Leinster at their very best on any given day? And we know Munster have got the ability to do that. We know that Ulster, because of the Irish influence, but I don't really know when I look at it like that. You look at Munster, they've got to be at 110%, I think, to beat Leinster. And it showed at the weekend when they're up against Leinster's second team, that if they're not, then for whatever reason, and again, Bernard Jackman put a few things out on social media, the way that Leinster take the ball to the line, it's just so hard to defend whatever player that they've got in their squad, whether it be second, third team or first team. So that is the worry for Munster and Ulster to a degree, is that you know what's at the end. You know what's waiting for you. And it's Leinster. And if they're fully loaded, the likelihood is you're going to lose, right? So you want to try and get them on an off day. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting... I mean, for me, again, without pissing on the fire, the final will look after itself. There's obviously a big build-up now through the quarterfinals with the South African teams in the mix. Poor Edinburgh having to go down to South Africa.
What would you rather, though? Be Edinburgh and go to Cape Town, so at least you get a bit of sun, get the Facts 50 out, get on the beach. You've got probably more of a chance of winning than you have if you're Glasgow going to Leinster, where you're getting no Facts 50. You might get a bit of Ed Sheeran from somewhere if you're still out there hanging about singing songs on the streets, maybe. Who knows? But you ain't beating Leinster, so you'd rather be Edinburgh.
Can tell you now that Glasgow will be getting Facts 50 points. That's what they'll be getting. So, I don't know. I think I'd rather be Edinburgh. I like the South African teams being back in. We kind of hoped, didn't we, that the Stormers or the Sharks would have a knockout game at home. It just kind of adds to it. So, yeah, Edinburgh go there. It's going to be tough for them. They beat the Sharks when they went down there in that monsoon earlier in the season. So, and they were comfortably better than Glasgow at the weekend. But I think, again, when you look at the salary caps and you look at the teams in the URC, you look at the changes for Edinburgh more so than Glasgow, I think the Scottish teams have actually done all right.
Well, we've mentioned Leinster a couple of times there, but it's the big game that everyone wants to talk about or wants to hear about versus La Rochelle in the Champions Cup final this weekend. Who's winning it, lads?
Leinster, comfortably.
Well, the end. I was going to build it up then because it's out in Marseille and I have got the privilege of being a European rugby ambassador for this weekend, James.
I know, we were both meant to be. You're telling me like I don't know.
I know. I feel bad because they basically, European Rugby, EPCR wanted us to go out there and host a few Q&As and do what we do and have a bit of fun. Jim obviously had booked himself in for an opera. Why didn't you change it, Jim? We could be in Marseille together this weekend.
I didn't know what the rules were that you can't smoke after a week. So it's, if I would have known that, then it would have been all very different. But yeah. It's more. I'm keen to go. Let's put it out there now. I would get on a plane and I would go tomorrow. But Beck, like I ain't looking after the kids at the minute. Like I won't. I'm refusing to do anything. So I can't on one side say I've got to go. Well, I know, but it's more like I'm not even getting up off the sofa. Before I'd stand up and shout. You know what I mean? I'd offer something.
So we worked out that Beck wears the trousers in your house, or the trews.
She wears the trews.
So I'm down in Marseille for both finals. Looking forward to it, actually. I was having a bit of banter with Luke Pearce over social media, private messaging, over the weekend because I'm hosting a Q&A on the Saturday pre-match with him. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be Friday night out there. Sean O'Brien's out there. Big shout out to Sean O'Brien who retired at the weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of drink. A bit of French will come out, no doubt. And I said to the missus, it's work. I've got to go, it's work. And she's like, yeah. Can we come? I was like, no. You stay at home with the children. I shall be going to Marseille and having quite a lot of drink responsibly, maybe Heineken, because it's the Heineken Champions Cup final. And a lot of fun will be had watching Leinster win.
What has changed since last year's semi-final when La Rochelle dominated Leinster physically?
That. Exactly what you've just said then. They've realised that the physicality element to it, both from forget the URC, I feel bad keep saying that, from a winning the Champions Cup and winning a Six Nations. I know they didn't win the Six Nations, but they were close to. They nearly beat France in Paris. And doing something at the highest level collectively, and I say that Ireland collective, Leinster effectively, the physicality element to it. I think that is a game changer. What happened that game against La Rochelle in the semi-final last year, I think that's what's changed it. I think that's what's changed Leinster and Irish rugby. So they've realised that for all the reasons. Ask Bernard Jackman, get in contact with him, he'll tell you how they've done it in terms of training drills and stuff like that. But I think that's what we've seen. I think we've seen an element of physicality that is so consistent and ferocious, and they're clear outs. And it's a different physicality. When you watch La Rochelle and you watch Toulouse, it's one-off runners. It's big man trying to get over a smaller man. It's slower. It's more laboured. It's heavy. Whereas Leinster and Ireland, I'm going to keep putting them in the same mould, it's just this collective violence. And I think that stemmed from that game where guys like James Ryan, I know we keep going back to him, we think that he lost his British and Irish Lions place because of that game against Big Willie, Little Willie Skelton. And he got physically dominated as they were going to South Africa with the Lions, and it would have been a similar thing. I think that is what has changed the course of Irish rugby. And I just think that they know exactly what's coming. And I've not seen enough from La Rochelle. And I say that, there's no doubt they're a fantastic team, right? Ronan O'Gara, a huge amount of respect for him. The players that we've gone through, Goody's favourite player, Bottier, Big Willie, Little Willie Skelton's back fit. Bernard Jackman, we're calling you out, mate, because normally if you tell us you've got long hair, Bernard Jackman, we bloody believe it, right? And you told us Willie Skelton was out and apparently he's in. And that could be a game changer, but he ain't 100% fit, is he? Like, he's being rolled out if he's 80%.
He won't start.
Fit.
I don't reckon he'll start. He came off the bench at the weekend.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, but that's the thing.
He's been out for a long time, and this is like with O'Gara. There's so many sort of different undercurrents to it. O'Gara, Munster man through and through, coming up against Leinster. He would love nothing more than stopping it. Everyone's expecting a Leinster victory. I think if there is a team that can stop this blue machine that is Leinster from functioning, it's the power and size of La Rochelle. If they can slow it down, this is the thing. Bernard Jackman said it on here last week. Sometimes, and you said it, the violence that they go into a ruck with, sometimes it's bordering on illegal. And that's what effectively gets them quick ball. Now, I said it on here a couple of weeks ago about the refereeing, and I said, how didn't Wayne Barnes have a semi-final? Well, Wayne Barnes has got the final. So I'm sure Ronan O'Gara, being the intelligent rugby brain that he is, will have a word in the shell like of Wayne Barnes and say, listen, you've got to watch their clean outs, because if they're not legal, that's how they get quick ball. That's how they get their momentum. And it's all about stopping Leinster's momentum. So you can stop that with a good kicking game. You can stop that with physical dominance at the gain line. And when you've got players like Aldrete, you've got players like Victor Vito, you've got Weenie Antonio, who ain't so weenie, you've got Will Skelton, and they can definitely do it. But in 30-degree heat in Marseille, when Leinster are going to play at the speed and pace that they want to play at, it's going to be a tough ask for La Rochelle. But it'll all be about slowing the game down to their pace and their power and their size and capabilities of how they want to do it. Can they do it just themselves rugby-wise, or can they do it by Wayne Barnes looking at how Leinster clear out and effectively trying to manage that area of the breakdown so that they are fully legal? And, that gives La Rochelle a bit of an opportunity.
You guys have got a couple of shout-outs to finish off with, don't you?
Yeah, we've got a few, as we always do, towards the end of the season. This one's to Market Harborough Rugby Club and their second team, who won the Cup and the league this year, going undefeated in both. And also one to the Northamptonshire Police men's rugby team, who won the Police Sport UK Plate final last week against West Yorkshire after extra time. And they did it in memory of their colleague PC Alex Prentice, who sadly passed away. So a big shout out to all you guys. Well done.
Yeah, and I've got a shout out to another police team as well. A massive shout out to South Wales Police Rugby, who defeated the Met Police in the British Cup final at Stourbridge on Wednesday and are now the British champions. So well done, lads.
Great to see some Welsh teams winning, eh? Oh, being horrible. But I've got another shout out to a Welsh team, the Wales Civil Service Rugby team, who are playing against England Civil Service Rugby for the first time in 100 years this week on Wednesday, the 25th of May. So a day after the podcast is released. The kickoff is 6 p.m. at Cardiff Arms Park, and tickets are £5, with all the proceeds going to the Wooden Spoon charity, Andrew, which we know is a very good charity that does great things across the board. So get along to that if you can and watch a Welsh team win. Do
you think they're going to win?
But anyway, lastly, we've got a shout out to Dom and the lads from Blackheath, First 15, who are doing the 3 Peak Challenge on the 10th of June in support of mental health charity, Mind Charity. So big shout out to you lads as well from Blackheath.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Gertie. Thanks, producer Tristan. And thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to check us out on YouTube and make sure you've subscribed on Spotify.
Rugby Spod.
Spotify, pod.